The most important thing about this dog, he's got such a good head. He's got plenty of brain room, and that's what you want more than anything. You must have plenty of brain room, a good, not sort with a good stop, a good round apple-type head, see?
Yeah.
And not be too clumsy. He's got a good neck, running well into his shoulders. He's got a good briskies, he's not too deep. You should be able to span a dog. You should be able to span him like that, see? Pick him up and get your fingers right round him.
Do the markings make any difference?
They don't make any difference at all, like, you know. I mean, he's got this blue mottle, which is most of my strain, right? They've got the blue mottle or the brown mottle. He's got a wonderful back end, with plenty of power there, so he's strong and he's hard. And if you feel there, he's really hard. Well, that proves he's fit, you see. But he's very fit. He's a very clever dog, and as I say, it is brains more important than anything.
Bert Gripton and I have been friends for well over 30 years, getting on for half our life. And when I first knew him, he kept working terriers like this to bolt foxes for the hunt to hunt above ground. Well, he's still a professional terrier man, and the terriers he keeps still keep him. And he trains them and breeds them, he works them and shows them, and he sells them too. Old Tiger here has got pups from as far apart as America and Italy and Japan, and you don't get a reputation like that just by getting dogs that bolt a fox. Where Bert stands out head and shoulders above the amateur rivals that he's got, the cowboys who often get his profession a bad name, is that he not only knows about dogs, he knows an awful lot about foxes and wildlife, and he's a professional naturalist too, and that's really what I admire so much about him. And I'm very glad to say that when he goes, the secrets of his trade won't die with him, because he's got an inseparable companion. Young Jamie, his grandson, is just as keen on natural history and sport as Bert is, and he couldn't have picked a better granddad to show him how to go on in the countryside. And I reckon that when they've summered and wintered a few more times together, that young Jamie will be a right chip off the old block.
He's a big otter pad, see? That's a dog otter. So you see the toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dog's got 4 toes, and otter has got 5, see? Now, going over here, you see, there's a bitch otter, see? Now, that's a smaller pad altogether. See? And them and the bitch otters going out into the water. I love to study otters because they're the most elusive, I think, of all our wild animals. What I used to do for a living was pest control. Anything in the pest line.
There's some more pads here.
Is there?
Yeah.
What are they?
They're otters, I think they're otters anyway. They've got 5 toes.
I personally think that every animal, even from the biggest vermin out, have got a place. Foxes have got their place. Badgers have got their place. Otters, everything. The main place I think they've got is they take the weakest of another species. And I think by them taking the weakest of the other species, they strengthen that species. Because if you breed from anything weak, you're bound to have weaker stuff.
It's a far cry from that quiet stream where Bert and Jamie found clues of otters' secret lives to the rural razzmatazz of the Great Yorkshire Show. Countrymen and townsfolk who love the countryside grow nostalgic over ancient traditions. They enjoy the colour and pageantry of foxhounds and horses and flamboyant horsey folk parading round the show ring. It's meat and drink to young Jamie, a quiet lad up from the country, to see how the other half lives and to learn the relationships between the tough working terriers that Grandad has at home and the same dogs prissed up like fashion models for the show ring as if butter wouldn't melt in their mouths.
He's got a good head on him. Too big for my opinion. His feet are wrong, look. So he turns his feet out.
That one,
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think of that one?
That is quite good.
I like that one, I do.
Yeah.
Knocked about a bit there,
There again, you see, there's another dog that isn't all put together, you see. His back end don't belong to the rest of him. See, now he's the opposite to the one on the other side, see. From his nose, right back to his loins, he's a lovely dog.
The proof of the pudding's in the eating. You can't hunt foxes underground, so a good terrier man knows every hole where a fox may lurk. He goes round the day before the meet to bolt the foxes with his terriers and stop up the holes to encourage them to lie out above ground.
Looks of his shoes, a bit of a run to it. Right, you go to the other end.
Right.
Although vixens seek snug earths to have their cubs in spring, foxes often lie out in thick cover during the rest of the year, and only a good naturalist understands their habits.
No, there's nothing in here.
Is he through?
Yeah.
Right. Put the stop in then. I'll stop this in.
When Bert's terrier has been through the earth and proved it vacant, he stops it up so that when the hounds find the fox above ground, he'll have to make off for the safety of a more distant earth.
On a day like today, you'd hardly expect him to be in all of those years. He's more likely to be lying on the top.
I'll stop that anyway.
Yeah, that's made a good job of that. Yeah, right. Oops.
A clever terrier man who once sees a fox knows it again as surely as he'd recognise a dog. So wise masters listen to his advice before planning their strategy, because they realise that Bert knows as much about the local foxes as other foxes do.
Morning, Sydney. Right, nice to see you. Yes, nice to see you. Morning, Richard. Morning, Master. Morning, I've been to those pit holes, and several of them places are used. You're likely to find covering. You know, the second one.
Yes, I know.
In the field.
The bigger one, yes. Yes.
And there's that one place. You know the place, don't you, madam? The one that we usually find in, with the rushes in. Yes. That looks a very likely sort of place.
But I see there is a field of roots along here.
Yes.
You know, you said you thought it had gone.
Yes.
There's another one next to it.
Oh, there's another patch, is there?
Yes, this side.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Big field.
Yeah. Right. I've got personal friends that are dead anti-cruelty, and they're dead anti-killing things. And I never fall out with them. We often don't discuss many matters together, you know, purpose or other. I have nothing whatever against a person who objects to whatever I do, providing they do it in the right sort of way. The biggest objection I've got is the people who spray hounds, and they are known to throw acid and stuff at hounds and horses, stick nails in horses and God knows what. It is not the animals' fault that they're there. It is the human beings who are in charge of them. But the majority of these people haven't got the pluck to have a real go at the human being, so they have a go at the animals instead, which in my part is cowardice.
Whatever Bert might think about the ethics of hunting foxes with hounds, there's a passionate lobby of opinion that bitterly opposes hunting for sport, and Bert himself has come in for the thick end of their stick as often as the hounds they try to bamboozle by laying false scents and other wiles. The arguments are endless, whether foxes should be treated as sporting quarry, protected species, or simply as vermin.
Well, a lot of people class a lot of things as vermin, which in my opinion are not really vermin. For instance, the main one, I think, is the weasel. They don't do half the damage that the keepers reckon they do. And even foxes, all foxes, don't live on feather or anything like that, and you know, you'll get some foxes that never hardly touch feather. And then again, on the other hand, with foxes with sheep, if you get a fox as is taking lambs, it wants destroying, and in my opinion, the whole litter wants destroying, because once they've tasted mutton, they'll go for it again. A lot of people say they won't take a live lamb, but they will take a weakling lamb, and once they've tasted it, they will take it.
Is there any means of knowing which foxes are the villains and which are the innocents? How can you tell that, though?
It's a job to tell without watching for foxes. You've got to actually see them doing it. And there's 1 in 50 people, even keepers, 1 in 50 keepers can tell one fox from another. I mean, some of the keepers know every fox. They know where he's likely to be and all. Everywhere he's likely to go every night, but others are just the opposite. A fox is a fox.
Bert, as a professional terrier man, you obviously have got the opportunity to get all over the countryside into parts of estates that you wouldn't otherwise be able to look at. Of course, it's in bits of country like this, the keeper is the boss man of the whole place, and he probably has more influence than the owner. And how have you got on with keepers in your life? You must have mixed with them a lot, Bert.
On average, very well. You get the odd one who they've got it in for you before they've even met you.
Why? Why should they?
Well, I don't know. I think a lot of it is up to a point. A bit of it is jealousy, I think, over other keepers. You know, other keepers getting on with you all right, and they don't get on all right. But then again, the majority of them are likely to accuse you of something that you'd never done. Well,
like what?
Well, poaching. Now, in my opinion, you know, the good keepers, which I've found, the good keepers, are the people who, you know yourself, they never really trust you, but they're sociable with you. Now, them, in my opinion, are the best keepers, because if you're on the inside with somebody, you're more likely to learn something about them than you are on the outside.
Bert and his terriers travel the length and breadth of the country, and his reputation travels before him so that he's welcomed by masters of hounds and farmers alike wherever foxes are to be found.
Don't let him go. Look at him. They've been here just not many minutes ago. You have a look on that side, Jamie. Make sure there's nothing at all.
Here, a farmer who was losing Muscovy ducks spotted the guilty fox disappearing down a hole in his hedgerow. So he's sent for Bert and Jamie to make certain that he doesn't do it again.
Is it big enough for him to get out?
No.
No?
No.
Right. Come back here now. I'll put the dog in. Listen in that old dig somewhere.
The terrier's role is not to fight with the fox underground, but to bolt him, or to drive him into a third tunnel and bay at him from a safe distance of 2 or 3 feet.
Can't get to them, he's scratching.
Yeah, I can hear him somewhere.
Pardon?
He's here somewhere. Yeah, he's here. Here he is.
Hunting men probably wouldn't approve of Bert's summary dispatch of the fox as mere vermin. For them, the fox is an honourable quarry which must have a sporting chance. But in the farmer's eye, the fox is a successful predator which must be controlled. And in a case like this, neither hunting nor snaring nor gassing would be as effective.
Right. I'll get it in here then. Make sure when you're on these sort of places, you put the turf in the right place, you know. Good old sir.
The sound of the dog told Bert where to dig, and when he reaches the dog, he can lift him out unharmed, knowing that the fox will not be far away. But Bert had never waxed fat from part-time work for the hunt or accounting for rogue foxes. The icing on his cake comes from his reputation in the mushrooming craze of showing working terriers, a breed that's not recognised by the Kennel Club.
Well, the thing is, as far as the showing business is concerned, there's far too many people. If they win a first prize, I think they ought to win every time. And it is, when you go into a ring, providing the judge is square, you go for his opinion and his opinion on the day. Your opinion and my opinion might be different, but far too many people won't accept that.
Well, what sort of money does it put on a dog that's either won at a show or is a good working dog? Which counts most with these dogs?
A good working dog. A good working dog. A good working dog is priceless. I have never in my life sold a first-class working dog. It always had some slight fault with it, in my opinion.
I always remember the old tale that used to go about you. You used to be out and you got the best dog in England this week, and if somebody bought it, you got one to replace it, the best dog in England next.
Well,
is that fair?
You never, yeah, you never see a fruitier put his second-class fruit in the window. He always puts his first-class fruit in the window, and so I do the same.
What sort of money do they fetch? What are we talking about?
Well, just recently I've seen a dog which I think is probably the best-shaped Jack Russell dog that I've ever seen in my life. And the people put a price of £500 on him. To a lot of people, it might seem a lot of money, but I myself wouldn't sell him if I'd got him.
Why not, since you're in it for a living?
Well, as you've just said, you know, they're not a recognised breed. So many people breed in different crosses, and for a good many years, all I thought about was the working qualities and not the looks. But when you can get looks and work together, it's priceless.
Young Jamie gets a great kick out of showing Bert's terriers at shows. He's onto a good thing because Bert never keeps rubbish. In such a tight-knit community, he's almost as well known as his granddad. They do say that the judges sometimes look both ends of the lead. But it is great fun to walk out of the ring with a prize. It's a subjective judgment what type of terrier to choose. There's no good horse a bad colour, they say, and some seem to think there's no good terrier a bad shape. Like their owners, they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, the long and the short and the tall, the smart and the scruffy.
Quite honestly, it's not always easy to find the right person.
The most popular are Jack Russells, called after the sporting parson who founded the strain. But as the Kennel Club doesn't even recognise them, type is a matter of personal choice. Active, lanky dogs are at home in the heather and rocks of fell country. Nippy, short-legged little tykes are all right where the going is easy but space constricted.
That would be a lovely terrier if it was a bitch, but it's a dog, you see. It looks like a bitch.
Yeah, I see. What about the
and that's what you find, you see. That 9 out of 10 of them, like, you know, despite the fact that they're good looking, you cannot find a good dog.
Yeah. This one's my favourite, I think.
Why do you like that one?
Well, I like the colours for a start, and he's a nice shape, I think.
You'd never worry about